Hey guys, before the video starts, I just want you to know that there is, my family shouts at me at about the 23 or 24-minute mark. So I just need you guys to know that maybe turn down your volume just for that. I don't want to blow anyone's ears out, and otherwise, enjoy the review. Thank you. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tosh Customs, and today we will be looking at my custom Warframe-inspired figure. I don't know what I really want to call him yet. I don't know what to call him. You know, as much as I'm taking design elements and inspiration from Warframe, me and the customer were trying to come out with our own lore for these characters because we want to make more. And you know, as with everything, I don't want to just steal it. I just don't want to, you know, take something that people have worked on for a long time and just go, I like it, it's mine. You know, I want to nod to the people who have developed Warframe and the artists behind all of that and the community as well, and go, I love what you guys are doing. And, you know, I want to be able to, you know, take some of this and also fly it in a different direction at the same time. And so, you know, in efforts to not steal and not to detract from anything, you know, that they have done over the last, you know, many years, we've also come out with our own lore for these guys. And so we're completely diverging from the Warframe story. And I will put a link in the description of this video sometime after, actually when it goes up, I'll make sure it's in the description. It's like 7 pages of lore I've written. I spent like 4 hours writing it and just kind of coming up with like who are these guys, who are they fighting, what powers do they have, why do they have powers, you know, just kind of filling out some background and fleshing out sort of a world that they're in, and you know, really trying to make these guys feel unique, and to breathe some life into them so that you just don't go, oh, this is just some video game thing. But, you know, hopefully I can take what they've built and also, you know, create something off of the design aspects and create something completely new for you guys to enjoy. So, you know, that's just my little preface or whatever. This is very Warframe inspired in terms of some of the design elements. But, you know, as I run this forward, you know, just like what me and, you know, several other customers have done in the past, you know, take cyberpunk designs or take DC designs and, you know, to pull the elements we like, but also breathe life into it in our own way. And so just like how I have lore for my cyberpunk figures, I'm going to have lore for these more sci-fi space themed Warframe-esque figures as well. So without further ado, let's dive into the review. As always, we'll be taking a look at the accessories first. So I'm going to pop off the extra head and then we will dive in. So taking a look at the heads, we have my first one right here, which these are all 3D printed, by the way. As you can see, you can see that gray resin color underneath, as well as the hot glue I used to create the neck hole there. So yeah, a lot of the parts on this guy are 3D printed, including both heads, all the weapons he has. So he has 2 scythes and a sword, as well as an assortment of the armor on the character itself. And so I got a 3D printer back over Black Friday, and I got it on sale. I got the Elegoo, I think that's how you say it, Mars 2 Pro. And so since I've been on winter break, I've been teaching myself Blender, learning how to model, really trying to kind of get into this sector because it allows me to be a lot more creative and really design things and make things that I wouldn't be able to otherwise. You know, a head with this design, with these ridges, with these lines is just really difficult to do. If I would almost argue near impossible to do symmetrically at this scale for most artists, including myself. And so the 3D printer really does give me some new liberties here. So this is the head I designed. For the color scheme, what we're running with is this very almost like yellow pearl color mixed with this jade green with some gold highlights on it. And so as you can see, there's definitely some more gold around the spikes on the chin, around the crest on the head, as well as the ridges running backwards. And we'll see those gold highlights throughout the rest of the figure too. In terms of painting this, modeling it is its own thing. But in terms of painting it, this color I did, this yellowish pearl color, almost like a bone pearl in a weird way, I did with a really unique mix of colors. So it's mostly white. I don't have any measurements, but it's mostly white, a couple drops of silver chrome, a couple drops of pearlized gold, and then also light flesh. And if you mix that together smoothly, I was able to get this nice pearl bone type color. And so I really, really like this. Originally, the idea was to go for a really, really dry bone. It was my original idea was actually to have it very, very matte. And so I painted some of the armor in the head with more of that matte bone color. And I was just like, this is not getting across the very mystic, celestial, alien nature of this character. And so I went back to the drawing board, and it took some experimentation. And honestly, I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. But excited to say that it did work. And then what I did to just give it some extra shine, because it already has that really nice metallic sparkle, but then I sprayed a gloss sealer over all of it. So one, the paint is protected, which is cool. Really, in general, you shouldn't have any paint issues. If you paint something well, sealing is nice, but you shouldn't really have to risk paint damage because you've prepped the figure properly. But the gloss sealer was not necessarily to protect the paint as much as to give that extra sheen to it. And so you get that really, really nice smooth bending of the light over the surface, because metal just shines back, if that makes sense. But that gloss coat bends the light also. And so you get to really, really appreciate the light shining over the surface there, which is super, super cool. So I'm really a big fan of this color scheme. But moving on to the other head, we wanted to make an alien. And so I sculpted this head also, as well, also 3D printed, as you can see. And me and the customer were talking about, like, what colors do we want to use on this guy? Like, we want to make an alien, but because, obviously, the body is a humanoid build. As you can see, it's a, very, very humanoid shaped, 2 arms, 2 legs, pretty standard in that way. I didn't want to disrupt the head and make it too beast or animal-like or too foreign, because that wouldn't feel like it fits on that body. You want your head to feel at home on the body it's on. And so in this case, I wanted a little bit more of something that feels a bit standard. So in this way, I created this head. I cut the nose down in the sculpting process. So earlier I developed just like a male blank that I could always use. And so then what I did was I accentuated the eyebrows, I accentuated the cheekbones, made them pretty angular. As you can see, there's some really nice like cheekbone line right there. You can see that edge coming up around from the mouth, and it runs all the way up to the cheekbone. You get a really nice sharp edge there. And then the nose itself doesn't protrude as much as a human nose does. Instead, it turns into 2 nostrils, as you can see right there. And then we have the mouth, and then he's mostly bald, except he has this really nice, like, sort of combed back mohawk braid. I don't really know what to call it, but I think it looks sick. And then he's also got this collar piece that runs around the back. And the reason why he has the collar piece is so that when you put the head on the figure, it looks like the collar or the cowl from the body raises up and is creating like a seal. So the idea is, he's got this collar on, and then when he puts on his helmet, this helps seals up the mask, so that, this is airtight. He won't breathe in any crazy fumes or something like that. But me and the customer were talking about color choices, and we really, really weren't sure what we wanted to do. Definitely, we didn't want to go, a human skin tone route. That'd just be weird. He's an alien. But at the same time, you know, green feels overdone. You know, every Martian is colored green. So that for us, or at least for me, felt very out of the question. And then I was talking about, you know, what about like a blue skin tone? But as we were thinking about that, we realized that, you know, Mezco has their own line, you know, the Krieg characters, and those have all blue skin. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not about to create this futuristic alien, you know, race of warriors who also have blue skin, because that just seems, it just seems too close to stealing. So instead, we landed on this guy having this orange skin with these blue highlights. And this was actually inspired by this orange and blue, I think, poison dart frog that the customer found, as well as some images of this butterfly that he found that also have this really bright orange to metallic blue look. And so I sort of took highlights from the frog with more of that lighter sky blue and put that in the hair. And then for the eyes, we have this purple blue color shifter. As you can see in the dark, it looks a little bit more purple. And so you can see that transition there. We have a purple blue color shifter in the eyes to mimic more of that metallic wing that we saw in the butterfly. And originally, he didn't have these gunmetal face tattoos. But as me and the customer were talking, he was just like, you know, the head just being orange with the blue just doesn't feel very complete. And so I ended up hand painting in these gunmetal tribal tattoos. And even I really like the choice of gunmetal for the tattoos, even because, you know, normal face paint is going to be black or red or white. Those are kind of like the three standards that you see largely around the world, black, red, and white. And, you know, for an alien, I didn't want him to feel, once again, I wanted him to feel familiar in the face structure and the body structure, but I didn't want him to be human. And so, therefore, I went with gunmetal paint for the tattoos because, you know, maybe, you know, these guys come from a place with liquid metal and, or, you know, some metallic substance that we haven't seen yet, you know, on our side of the galaxy or our side of the universe. And so he has these, you know, this face paint or these face tattoos done with gunmetal. And I think that also really just helps it stand out against the, you know, this matte orange. And the matte orange itself has some depth, as you can see. There's definitely some darker tones and some lighter tones throughout the face. But really just the having that shine really brightens the contrast because definitely white and red would mix a little too much into the skin tone. And the reason I say that is due to the fact that this is, you know, the orange is a pretty bright orange. And so the red sits on the orange spectrum and then the white sits, you know, on the lighter side of the orange in some respects. And so it just wouldn't create enough of a contrast. But in dark light, the gunmetal looks really, really deep because gunmetal is generally darker. Against the orange skin, and then in, you know, high light, you know, like with the light source I have right now, it shines and it sparkles just like the eyes do, and so that helps set it apart from the head or the skin tone as well. So putting those aside, let's talk about we'll talk about the hands really quick. The hands are very basic. These are Sovereign Knight hands that have been repainted, so we have some of that gloss spray over it as well as that bone pearl, as you know, with the jade green highlights through them, and that's the way they are for all the hands. And I do have to say real quick, he does have a pair of trigger hands because this is from the Sovereign Knight body. This figure doesn't come with any guns. He doesn't come with anything he fires. Maybe in the future I'll develop guns for these hands, but you know, at this time and place, I don't have any. So he has trigger fingers for no weapons with triggers, but you know, I'm sure I'll be able to double back around and address that at some point. But yeah, and then his other pair of hands, he's got the open ones. So we have grasping ones, we have trigger fingers, we have open palms, and then on the figure right now, we have the fisted hands. So putting the hands aside, taking them off the table, I'll leave the heads there. We come to our first pair of custom weapons. We have these scythes. These were super, super cool to make. And I know I say every custom is super cool or exciting, but for me, these weapons in particular, I mean, the whole figure was very exciting, but these weapons in particular, because this was my, first time really designing custom weapons from scratch. I've sculpted armor from scratch. I've made custom heads, but I've never done 100% custom weapons. And so having the 3D printer really does afford me some new flexibility and gives me a chance to do stuff I just wouldn't be able to before, including creating these sights. And so he's got this pair of sights. He's got the, the bone and the gold coming through it. He's got those green highlights on them. And I bought a pair of digital calipers, and so they measure into the micrometers. And so I was really able to measure how these are going to fit in the hand. And so by measuring it, and then with also some of the help of the protection of a gloss sealer, I can just slide these onto the hand, and he holds these blades just like so. So I'm going to put one in this hand. I'm going to grab the other grasping hand and put the other scythe into it. So then, there we go. Just wiggle it on in, and there we go. So now that I have them both in, once we talk about the figure later, we'll put his accessories on and we'll be able to take a look at that. The other thing I have is this really, really big sword. I'm calling it I think I called it the Nucleon blade when I was talking to the customer. I don't know what I'm officially going to call this, but I do want to create some sort of set of relics or specially powered weapons in this universe we're creating. And the really cool thing about this was I was able to design these floating circles. As you can see, the edges are just connected to each other, but when you're looking at it head on, and really from most angles, the circles are floating. And so that was a super, super cool thing for me to be able to do, was to design that. And so we have these floating circles in the center that to a degree mimic, the electrons floating around an atom. And so that's why I was sort of going for that like nucleon or nucleus blade, and the idea that the blade is able to split things at an atomic level. And so we have this really, really nice deep chrome silver. There's a black undertone to it, as well as a little bit of some more blue and purple color shifter in there. The camera doesn't seem to be picking it up too much, but you can catch little hints of it in person. It's very lightly applied on, so I'm not trying to make this thing shiver, but I'm just trying to give it more of a bluish tint, bluish hue to it. And then the gold is done with a black undertone to it with some pearlized gold over, and so you get this really, really nice sort of worn depth to it, where the gold is still very shiny, but it's got sort of that black pitting in it that makes it feel like there's some age to it. And then we have these two silver rings, and then you have the silver and gold little spike at the bottom, along with that black grip. And so, yeah, just super, super exciting to have this blade as well. So, I think it's just, I think this commission has been exciting for me because the customer really said, just be an artist. He told me just to create. And so I was able to come up with all of this, and I really do want to be able to experiment more with this style of design, with more of this almost techno-organic theme going on. And so I am currently, as of the recording of this video, working on more designs that I'll be able to turn into figures. And I don't know when this will go live, but I am also working on a website, and I do want to start a 3D print shop. So I don't, as if you hear it now, don't expect anything next week or anything like that. I don't know when it's going to be done, but I am working on a place where I'll be able to sell some of the stuff I'm making. And a cool part about that too is that the customer, these heads will not be for sale. These both heads will be exclusive to the customer. I wanted to still, as much as I'm 3D modeling and I'm going to be selling, I still want my customs to be unique. And so while the 3D printed elements of the armor I will be selling, the heads will stay the customers, and I'm not going to, infringe on that. I still want him to have a unique figure for himself. So with that being said, I'm going to plug on this head, and now let's talk about the body. So this is done on a Shadow Batman, not the Onyx one, because the Onyx has a glossy undersuit, but a Shadow Batman. I did repaint some of the plating to make it glossy, as you can see, but that was not the original suit. It was much more of a matte black, and so as you can see, there are still some elements here that are much more matte versus some of the painted ones up here that have that gloss sheen. So matte versus sheen. So this is done on a Shadow Batman. And my goal, as with most customs, is to make it so that you can't tell what figure this came from. And so I removed the bat symbol, I cut the blades off the gauntlets, I removed the knee pads, took away the belt, painted most of the rubberized elements on the suit. As you can see, we have that same bone pearl running through some of this rubber or vinyl plating on the body. It's up here on the cowl as well. Really just trying to transform this guy to the best of my ability with what I have. I'm excited to see, as I get better at 3D modeling, what more armor I can put on or what more things I can change. I know that some people make, completely custom gauntlets and boots, and, maybe one day I'll get there. Hopefully one day I'll get there. But for right now, for the 3D printed sections, we have this custom like lower shoulder plate. Obviously we have our heads, this chest plate, the crotch piece, the knee pads, and then, if I didn't say already, the arm gauntlets. So all of this is still based on the Sovereign Knight figure. These arm gauntlets here are actually just the thin outer edge. I had to put some sculpt inside to fill out the edge of that spike and fit it to the arm gauntlet. But you have this really nice spike right here, and as you can see, this really cool like overlapping bone element. So you got these three spikes right here, tipped in gold, and then you have these three spikes here coming down the other way, and then yeah, so everything's kind of tiered and overlapping on each other, obviously still with the gold highlights. Coming to the chest here, I wanted the chest to feel really big and bold, and so to as much as possible highlight this jade green that we were planning on using. And so I sculpted in a lot of these like really nice deep sorry, choked on myself right there. Filled in these really sculpted these really nice deep cracks into the suit so that they would give me some nice reference lines to paint in. And so I was able to paint the green highlights in to help also match the head there. And so just like we have this, little red eye or red gem on the front of the mask, we also have two other ones inside the chest piece there. And as you can also see, there's a bunch of little tiny triangles. If my camera can zoom in close enough. It can't. Okay, never mind. There we go. Bring it back a tad. You can see there's all these little gold triangles in the suit as well. I put in a lot of like just little tiny details into the geometry of the suit. So just to add some extra details, even if they're not as easy to see, they still exist in there. So we have that. Hello, sorry, I'm filming. Sorry about that, guys. That'll be in the recording because I didn't pause the video. Family just got home. So also sorry about the volume. I apologize for shouting at you guys. I should really get some editing software, shouldn't I? Maybe that'll be my next big project, but right now I'm building a website. Sorry about that. I really do apologize. Yeah. I'm sad now because we're 23 minutes in and that happened. I almost want to restart filming, but I'm too deep in now to restart. So that'll be what that is. Maybe I'll edit it out, but I don't know where I was talking before that, so probably doesn't work. My apologies. I'm sorry one more time. I feel bad about that. But anyways, we have this crotch piece right here. Once again, working on that overlapping bone theme that we saw. We see some of that overlapping right here in the fins. We've had it in the gauntlets. You can even see that there are tiny little tiered sections on these shoulder pads as well, kind of edging over each other there. And so once again, seeing that in the crotch plate with these pieces and more of that highlighted gold. And talking about that internal geometry, we can also see gold triangles right there on that crotch plate. Coming down to the knee pads, once again, you can see those little tiny spikes there working on that overlapping idea, as well as that little edge in the front there. We have two edges that are stacking over each other. And so once again, all the armor that I've sculpted has that bone-like texture to them and that bone-like shape and design. For the rest of the figure that isn't 3D modeled, once again, did my best to transform everything. And so highlighted the suit with some gloss black on some of the vinyl, as well as more of that pearl, as I talked about, as well as some cool gray. And the reason why I brought in the cool gray, because, you know, you guys might be like, where did the cool gray come from? It's really just it's really the function of this to break up some of the black areas because there's so much black paneling, as well as it sort of denotes really high movement in some of those areas. And so as you can see, you know, maybe it is a more, you know, in the lore or just in the suit construction, maybe it's a more flexible material. So we have some of that gray right around the shoulder, and then we have some more of that gray right around the hips there. And so, you know, for design purposes, it helps define the edge of the body, because when you have a fully black suit, those edges kind of get lost. And so we have these pearlized like little rib plates that help you go, okay, that is the edge of the chest there, especially like if the arms are down and stuff, some of that gets muddled. And so you have these as visual indicators. And then, you know, same thing for the hips, we have some visual indicators. Okay, you know, here are the hips, here's some gray, and, you know, as we've talked about, direction of paint. I don't want to paint all the panels because some of the panels don't really help with the design, but using these vinyl pieces to help get that inward pointing design. I think I talked about that on the Azrael Knight Batman figure, or this, yeah, that dark Batman figure that I did a while back. I talked about using sort of that triangle pattern as well. And so as you can see, we have that wide edge on the chest plate there that starts to overlap on the shoulders, and we use it to point inwards. We use the crotch plate and even those bone edges to point in as well. And then we're also using very selected vinyl to also help point inwards. And so sort of that in and down movement, in and down. So that helps give him that very sleek, futuristic, and strong body type. And even though the figure already has that, you can use the armor and the paint to help accentuate that design more. Coming down to the boots here, I didn't do any custom sculpting on the boots because I didn't want the plating to get too thick. You know, they've already created their own plating, and so I said, okay, I'm just going to run with their design. And thankfully, they do have some, you know, overlapping edges right there. And so it was really easy to just do my paint application over it, put in my green as well. And then something I wanted to do is to make his boots look worn. You know, as much as this guy, sorry about the camera shake, as much as this guy is shiny, you know, is accustomed to battle. And so what I did was, I'm going to have to zoom in even closer, aren't I? There we go. I put some brown into the cracks of the boots. As you can see right through there, there's like some nice matte brown in there, as well as this brown dry brushing over the armor. And I know in some light it is looking a little bit gray. I think it's just getting washed out by the light, but it is this nice dark matte brown, almost like a matte leather brown. And so it runs through the cracks on the boots, as well as has been dry brushed over the tops of them as well, to also kind of fade some of that gloss. You can see some of the matte sections with the gloss boot shining under it. So that just helps give the idea that he's been running through mud, he's been fighting. This dude is a warrior for certain. So the only thing that I didn't have in sort of that like preview panel of all his accessories is his cape. And the reason why is I just couldn't get the cape to stand up nicely while still be posed. So as I was building this guy, I realized that with this paint job, with this color scheme, he's got a very regal, powerful, almost royal look to him. And so I wanted to kind of play off that. You know, once again, he's a powerful warrior. I wanted to give, you know, almost give him some status to that. So the little corners, the little points of the cape where the wire has been sort of creased in, if the camera focuses, there we go. I have like these 2 points where the where the hood or the cape has been creased in. And so those just fit nicely into these divots right here on the figure body. And so you just kind of tuck those right under the divots. He's got his bit of silver chain right there. And then I can just plug back on my head just like so. And now he's got this very, very powerful feel. He's got this flowing cape. If I want to, let's put one of his, let's put his sights on. Actually, we'll put both sights on right now. Pop that off. Put this one on. So now, he's standing there prepared for battle, or maybe in the dust of battle already that he's finished. He's got both of his scythe weapons there. I think those look super, super cool. Matching the whole paint color scheme of the head and the shoulder plates and the arms, having it run all the way down there. I think that looks really, really cool. So we have that, but then obviously he's got his even bigger weapon, which is the sword. So I'm going to slide this out and now just kind of stretch the hand out a bit and slide the sword in. It's a really nice fit, but because of that, I'm also a little just bit worried about the paint scratching over time. So there we go. Now he's got his Nucleon sword as well. And so he's just a very, very powerful figure, hopefully. He's got a really imposing build. Very, very exciting to have him all geared out. I wasn't sure how some of the design elements were going to go, if I'm being 100% honest. This is the first time working in this style. This is the first time that I've really fully printed a 3D set of armor for a character, and so there was a lot of news and first times for me with this commission. And so for a while I was very scared about the outcome, but I feel very confident in it, and I think it turned out really, really nicely. And so before we finish the review, let's pop off this head. Let's pop off the cape again, maybe even. And let's put on his unmasked head. And so he's got that very powerful, those very powerful shoulders, that very stern, pursed lip expression there as well. Powerful, almost maybe even a little bit arrogant. Who knows? He's got some personality behind those little blue eyes. But anyways, thank you for watching this review. I guess maybe I should do some kind of size comparison, but I mean, he's just the Batman build. But what I do have right here is my Flashpoint style Batman. This is done on the PX Batman. So he's got that gray suit, but the rubber patterning is almost the same. And so even you can see same style of suit. My nightstand's a little bit taller just because of his head sculpt. But yeah, I think even this is a kind of crazy looking duo, kind of killer looking duo right there. So yeah, just for some reference of, maybe what the Batman figure originally looked like and versus what he's become. I would say, in efforts of fully transforming a character, I would say this is near unrecognizable relative to the Batman. So yeah, I'm very proud of how this guy has turned out. And I'm very excited to see what the future holds, especially, talking about an online store in the future or something along those lines. I think there's a lot of possibilities for what I'll be able to do with 3D printing, especially as my skill grows. And hopefully you guys will be able to appreciate it. I know there's some of you who are really excited about this. And so this armor set, the gauntlets, the lower shoulders, the chest, the knees, the crotch plate, and what I did forget to talk about, he does have a back plate on here as well. All of these will be for sale, both as a full set and as individual pieces when I eventually go live. And, hopefully someday soon I'll be able to do a soft opening with some demo products, just keep it a very limited stock. And yeah, hopefully you guys like that. My goal is to transition eventually into an online print shop as well as doing commissions. so that if you guys ever like some of the stuff I'm designing, I can make some of it available to you. You know, obviously the stuff that I'm still hand sculpting, that's just not going to happen, unfortunately. But, you know, hopefully there will be some things that I will be able to offer you guys so that you can customize your own figures and put, you know, a unique spin on them, you know, something like this. Stuff you wouldn't be able to do in other, you know, in other places. And so hopefully I'll be able to find my place in the 3D printing world and be able to offer you some really cool products as a part of it. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate all your guys' time. Sorry once again for the shout about 10 minutes ago. And Happy New Year. This is the second review of the new year, and I think a very, very exciting way to start off 22 as well as close out January. So I hope to catch you all in the next video, and thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate you guys a ton, and I'm not sure if I say it enough. So until next time, take care.